Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. All right. Well, I had a couple other fun things in my back pocket, but the draft is rapidly approaching here. A couple things on that. Cullen and I, my son and I, will plan on doing a live stream. It will probably be on Patreon. We've kind of experimented with that in the past. We'll do it again. Maybe we'll do any subscribers, including free. I don't really know, but we'll probably do it on Patreon. That worked pretty well. But just wanted to give you a heads up of that if you're looking for a home to hang out, watch the draft. Secondly, please remember, check the description here. We've got the draft guide, put in dozens and dozens of hours on this thing, not to mention building the entire freaking website, which, I mean, we're closing in on a year building the website. But within that website, Cullen and I, we've joined forces and have built a draft guide. And so you can find a link to that down below. And unlike every other draft guide in existence, this is not a static draft guide. That is to say, it will continue being added to as time goes on, and then it will continue to be live even after the draft, so we can do a lot of stuff in terms of adding details for the specific players that the Packers end up drafting, as well as any and all UDFAs that we end up picking up right after the draft. We'll go and get those guys included, and with all details, and you'll have access to all of that. Not to mention, and Colin and I were just talking about this today, how we're going to make it work with additional boards. You know, when you move on immediately to the 2027 NFL draft, what do you do? My perspective would be anybody subscribe to all my boards, but for the sake of the website, there should probably be options. But just in case there's any questions about that, that will be the setup for anybody that subscribes to Cullen and my's board. As soon as we start up 2027, which, to be safe, let's say within that first week, that will be launched. So please consider subscribing to that board, which is just a draft guide. And if you're, well, I guess you can't fully see it without subscribing, but it is just like a board, as in like a big board. If you go over to NFLDraftBoard.com or whatever that. I love the site, but it is the worst name in the world to this day. NFL Mock Draft Database, that's what it is. It looks just like that. It's just a board. But there's also going to be grades, and then if you click on the prospects, that's when you get to see their full draft guide, details, strengths, weaknesses, all that kind of stuff. It also would have an option to switch it to a horizontal board, and there's team notes in there and whatnot, so additional news notes for players as those come up, they get added to that player, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Also, Cullen mentioned to me he really wants to go back to Florida. We haven't been since, 2018 or something. And so I set a very impossible and unreasonable goal as far as subscriptions. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, for today, what I want to do is get back on the top 30 visits because we've got several more. I think we're at 23 now of the 30. That we have in here. So I want to make sure we go over the ones that we have not yet. And that should probably take us the full day here. If you're interested, by the way, and I haven't done this before and I don't really know why, but it looks like on April 6th, which would have been, I guess on April 7th, it would have been posted, I believe, roughly in and around there, was the first time we covered the top 30 visits. We went through, I believe, Ted Hurst, TJ Quinn, Josh Geske, Romello Height, Baron Morton, Charles Demings, and Mike Washington. The next day, which I believe would have been April 8th, this is just if you wanted to go back and find all the prospects and what we had to say about them and gone over them or whatever. Anthony Smith, the wide receiver out of East Carolina, Caleb Proctor, defensive tackle, Southeastern Louisiana, Jaden Duggar, linebacker out of Louisiana, Kalen Black, running back, Indiana, Christian Miller, defensive tackle, Georgia, and Malcolm DeWalt, cornerback out of Akron. Since that time, it looks like there are about 9 additional for us to talk about. Real quick before we get into that, there was one tiny bit of news. The Packers did hire Jake Flint, longtime protege of LSU head coach Brian Kelly. His relationship with Brian Kelly goes back a long way. Played running back for Kelly at Central Michigan University. Started coaching as a staff assistant with the running backs under Kelly at CMU. He joined Kelly's staff full-time at Cincinnati 27 through 09 in strength and conditioning. He spent 12 years at Notre Dame, starting in 2010, rising to co-director of strength and conditioning in 2017. Kelly brought him to LSU in December of 2021 as Director of Athletic Development, sometimes called Director of Athletic Performance. Flint is known as a player's coach who builds strong relationships and focuses on holistic athlete development rather than just barking orders in the weight room. There's a 2019 profile in The Athletic highlighting how former players rave about him, how he's become one of Kelly's most trusted staffers. He's certified as a registered strength and conditioning coach, CSCCA, and holds a USA Weightlifting Level 1 Sports Performance Coach certification. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur knows Flint very well. They overlapped on Brian Kelly's Notre Dame staff in 2014 when LaFleur was the quarterback's coach. That personal tie obviously played a role. I shouldn't say obviously, but more than likely played a role in this hiring. He was hired, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it, as the Packers' new assistant strength and conditioning coach. He will work under Aaron Hill, who is the strength and conditioning coordinator for the Packers. So, I mean, the hiring makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I mean, they're obviously looking for as many Rich Bisaccias as they can. It sounds like this guy has a phenomenal reputation as being a guy that players love. He has a personal connection with Matt LaFleur. He's been a very high-level person for very, very big programs under very, very big and notable coaches. And probably most importantly, the Green Bay Packers have struggled mightily, number one, with their strength and conditioning staff. I mean, we had a real serious problem. They ended up firing everybody. They bring in a whole new staff, and what happens? Our entire team gets hurt. Now, you can't blame everything on the strength and conditioning coach. Sometimes stuff just happens. But it is a very big concern, obviously, so they need to take that into consideration and do everything they can to make sure they have the best staff available to make sure that these guys' bodies are in the best possible condition in every way, holistically, if you will, not just in terms of please don't get injured, but that's obviously a big part of it. And for him, for Flint, it's a good opportunity to kind of take that step into the NFL. Matt LaFleur can kind of help him take that jump and hopefully, for him anyways, eventually get into an actual NFL strength and conditioning role. All right, why don't we dive in? First up is Jordan Vanderberg, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech, originally from Johannesburg, South Africa. Moved to the Atlanta metro area at 10 years old. He is a touch on the older side. He was unranked, so he kind of had to go through some stuff. Took a junior college detour at Iowa Western. He was first-team junior college All-American in spring of 2021. Then landed at Penn State as a developmental piece and transferred to Georgia Tech in 2024. So looking at PFF, obviously he went the JUCO route. Then he goes to Penn State. Started off 63 snaps, 53 grade. Not a lot of snaps, not great grades. Then he jumps up to 170 and 150, so kind of a rotational piece. The next 2 years at Penn State, his grades go from a 53 to a 64 and then a 64 to a 70. So as he's gotten better, gets a little bit more on the radar, goes to Georgia Tech where he gets more of an opportunity. 377 snaps, 76 grade, 78 run defense grade, which is his primary strength. Again, no positive pass rush statistics. I've yet to see one defensive tackle with any good stats in pass rush. Then his final year, 553 snaps. He's a full-time starter every single game he's starting. 75 grade, 81 run defense, 62 pass rush, just under 10% pressure rate, 3 sacks, 6 total sacks in his 5 years between Penn State and Georgia Tech, so about 1 a year. 6'3", 310, presumably he'd be another one of those kind of 310-pound nose tackle types. Although he is seen as somewhat of a freaky athlete and a developmental piece, so maybe you kind of see something in him as he can kind of become more than that, although that's kind of what you had with Kenny Clark, right? He was He was obviously a first-round pick, but he's a run defense guy that can be a really good pass rusher. He was snubbed at the Combine, but went on to have a phenomenal pro day. I believe, I'm not going to pull it up because the site's kind of slow, but I believe he had a 10 out of 10 RAS, just to give you an idea. Second best defensive tackle ever behind only Jordan Davis. Academic All-American and entrepreneur, earned a master's degree in international affairs while playing and owns a laundromat via NIL, the ultimate high-character, high-IQ profile. I am shocked that this is a 7th-round pick. 10 out of 10 RAS with a master's degree and his own business. Let's see, at 6'3", 310 pounds, he ran a 4'9", 440, a 36-inch vert, a 9'11 broad jump, and delivered a 4'19", 20-yard shuttle. Strengths, elite athleticism, point of attack power and strength, nonstop motor, run defense and gap discipline, football IQ and versatility. Weaknesses, limited pass rush arsenal, slightly short arms at 32 and an eighth, late production ramp up, and lateral agility on tape versus testing. In other words, he tests well, but on tape it doesn't look super fantastic. Ranked around 240 to 250 on consensus boards, which looks to be exactly accurate. He's at 247 on the consensus board right now, but is climbing fast after his historic pro day. Meetings with the Packers and Titans for their 30 visit. Projected as a mid to late day 3 pick, rounds 5 to 7. Legitimate upside. This is one of those guys, by the way, the Packers could take in like the 5th or 6th round and everybody be like, what are you doing? That guy's barely draftable, dude. He's at 247 on the consensus board. What are you doing, bro? Terrible pick. F grade, bro. Primary comp, Henry Anderson, former Colts and Patriots defensive tackle, long, athletic, high-motor interior lineman who carved out a solid NFL career as a rotational piece and occasional starter thanks to elite testing and run game disruption despite modest sack totals. The body type, athletic profile, and late blooming production line up almost perfectly. No red flags, clean off the field record, first-team All-American, master's degree, entrepreneurial NIL success. So very much no red flags. Everything we're talking about, once again, will be, I'm updating it as we go through it, in the scouting report that you can sign up for in the comment section. My goal is 1 today. 1 person signs up. My son's goal is a little bit more lofty. Oh, wow. He also had 35 reps on the bench, so that's a lot. Pretty strong as well. All right, let's do one more before the break here. So next up, we have Karen Prunty, and it appears to be pronounced that way. 6'2", 192-pound cornerback out of Wake Forest, originally from Portsmouth, Virginia. He's a little bit more out there at 426 on the consensus board, so theoretically, never know, we're talking UDFA down the line here. He was rated as a 3-star recruit out of IC Norcom High School in Portsmouth, Virginia, number 30 recruit by ESPN. He initially signed with Kansas, flashed immediate impact as a true freshman, but charted a nomadic path. Brief stop at South Carolina, 3 standout seasons at HBCU, North Carolina A&T, before landing at Wake Forest for his redshirt senior year. That winding journey paid off with third-team All-ACC honors in 2025. And yeah, definitely an unusual path, but it is kind of cool. I don't usually like this. I'd rather see somebody stay somewhere and kind of establish themselves. But he's been solid pretty much everywhere. So Kansas, I don't know his exact age, but Kansas back in 2020, presumably, let's say 20 years old-ish, 67 grade, 525 snaps. So he came in day 1, started at Kansas, got a 67 grade, 67 coverage grade. Wait a minute. 40.7 passer rating when targeted. That's pretty ridiculous. Gave up just 161 yards on 15 receptions, which is just 38.5%, by the way. Holy crap. Why did he go to NCAA&T? I don't understand this. 39 targets, just 15 of them were caught for 161 yards. He gave up 0 touchdowns, 1 pick, and 8 pass breakups, 40.7 passer rating. And then he just leaves. There's probably a reason for it. Maybe it's in here somewhere, but that's crazy. Anyways, the point is, he goes to the HBCU school for a few years. Then he goes to Wake, which is, again, a big school, and he has his best year. 804 snaps, 460 in coverage, 84 grade, 85 coverage grade. 52 targets, only 25 of them caught for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 6 pass break. This guy gets his hands on a lot of passes, man. 24 pass breakups in college. Just a 79.8 passer rating when targeted. He did have 5 penalties, but that's a lot of pass breakups. Like every year he had 8 and then 1 and then 5, 4, and 6. So he averages about 5 a year. Maybe it's not massively remarkable, but certainly that first year at Kansas it's got to be part of the reason some people are looking at him like there's something here. Also, he started year 1. Also, it looks like he pretty much started every year, everywhere he went. Doesn't look like there's a lot of injury stuff going on. I don't see a whole lot of like 100 snaps this year kind of thing. We'll get to that, but anyways, it's impressive and curious. Let's read through this for a second. Karen Prunty's college career reads like a blueprint for perseverance. Explosive Big 12 freshman at Kansas in 2020. All Big 12, honorable mention, 10 pass breakups leading the FBS. They're probably including the interception, which would be 9, but who knows? Who's counting? Redshirt 2021. Then, we did skip a year. Okay, so he's probably a little bit older. Then, 3 decorated seasons at North Carolina A&T, where he stacked all CAA honors, led the Big South in interceptions as a redshirt sophomore, earned preseason All-American buzz, transferred to Wake in 2025, delivered his best football yet, starting all 13 games, posting 40 tackles, 1 pick, 8 pass breakups, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery, while grading as PFF's number 12 coverage corner nationally, number 2 in the ACC. Prunty anchored the 3rd best pass defense in the ACC and proved he could lock down Power 4 receivers after dominating at the HBCU level. Over 55 career games, nearly 3,300 snaps, long experienced outside corner evolved into a scheme-versatile ball-hawking playmaker whose 2025 breakout and pro day explosion have NFL teams circling. Yeah, definitely very intriguing person. Not invited to the Combine, he showed up at Wake Forest March 25th, 2026 pro day, ran a 4.45 40 with elite agility numbers, 4.20 shuttle, 6.82 3-cone, while measuring 6'1.5", 190 pounds with 31 3/4 inch arms. Teams that had him pegged as a small school product suddenly saw a long, explosive athlete. Yeah, the 4.45 is solid. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Strengths: elite length and press punch, fluid change of direction and recovery speed, instinctive zone awareness and ball production, versatile run support and tackling. That's also important, and he has graded out well. If you look over the 5 years, very up and down, but never bad. 67, 59, which is basically average, 90, then 65, and then when he goes to Wake Forest, a 71. The tackling is a little bit more up and down. His worst year was at Wake Forest, 52 tackling grade. But the run defense has always been pretty solid, and the tackling is usually quite good. Weaknesses: occasional cushion and conservatism in off coverage. That could be an issue in a defense where you're going to be asked to do that. Needs to add functional strength, limited explosive vertical athleticism. Projected as a solid potential late-round pick, legitimate nickel or outside starter upside. No major injuries throughout his career. Minor neck issue was reported early in the 24 season at North Carolina A&T, but he started all 12 games that year with no further issues. Primary comp: Ifedi Melifonwu, Detroit Lions. Long, athletic, former Syracuse corner, translated size and pressability into a solid NFL role. Like Melifonwu, Prunty's length, recovery speed, ball production gives him the tools to contribute immediately on the outside or in the slot. Secondary comp: Asante Samuel Jr. I know a lot of people really liked Asante Samuel, maybe because they thought he was his dad, I don't know, but for whatever reason, I know he was popular. No red flags, no character or behavioral concerns reported. Described as high-character, hard-working leader who bettered himself repeatedly, earned respect everywhere he landed. All right, let's take a break. We've got, 7 more to get through, so we'll do that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Next up, we have Damon Bankston, running back out of New Mexico. He is not on the consensus board. He is, 5'10", 196, which is 10 pounds higher than where PFF has him. So I don't know if he packed on a few pounds, but good for him. Much more appealing to be 200 than 185, you know what I mean? Did not have any major FBS offers coming out of high school. He's from Katy, Texas. Signed with FCS Weber State in 2021 as an unranked prospect. The lack of early buzz forced him to bet on himself at an FCS level. He was at Weber State for 4 years, did fairly well. Grades of 75, 85, 70, and 80 rushing grades. Then he transfers to New Mexico State in 2025. He rushes 113 attempts, 612 yards, 5.4 per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 3 fumbles, 73 rushing grade, 3.49 after contact, 17 missed tackles forced, et cetera, et cetera. A little bit more detail on that. He arrived at Weber State as a true freshman in 21, built a reputation as a productive, explosive back across 4 seasons, amassing over 2,300 yards, twice earning all Big Sky recognition. After a season-ending injury limiting him to 5 games in 23, he rebounded with a monster 2024 campaign, 1,100 yards, 6.2 per attempt, 6 touchdowns, before transferring to New Mexico State for his redshirt senior year. In the Mountain West, he posted a bunch of yards, blah, blah, blah. We went over that already. And return specialist, 2 kickoff return touchdowns. Let's take a quick peek at that, why don't we? His kick return grades. So at Weber State, they didn't really use him a ton. He did have 5 returns in 2022, none in 2023 or 2024. 2025, he had, that's crazy, just 12 kick returns. That's it, 12. Those went for 450 yards, the longest being 100 yards, 37.5 per attempt, and 2 touchdowns. That is interesting, for sure. I don't know how much more we need to read into this. I mean, that feels like kind of what we're looking at. There's a note here. It says he returned 2 kickoffs for scores in 2025 while handling return duties at UNM's Pro Day, openly telling scouts that a lot of people make NFL teams on special teams. So he's just flat out telling them that, I guess. At New Mexico's March 23rd, 2026 Pro Day, Bankston turned heads while an unofficial 4.37-second 40-yard dash, official 4.44, that would have ranked top 3 among combine running backs, plus strong agility and return demonstrations. So, I mean, this is kind of interesting because you have a feeling this is where it comes from. You got scouts, they go to these pro days, whatever, and there's this guy there that is a really good return guy, and you probably didn't really have him on your radar. You know, you're using stopwatch, you got a 4.37 40. Like, there's a whole lot of, like, what is going on with this guy? So what do? You bring him in for that top 30 visit. Some strengths: explosive first step quickness, natural hands, and route running as a receiver. In 2025, he had 31 receptions for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a long of 84 yards. So he is one of those get the ball in his hand return guy type of guys, which is awesome. Dynamic return specialist, obviously. Elusiveness and vision in space, competitive toughness and work ethic, multiple Offensive Player of the Week nods, leadership in the transfer portal, and scouts' praise for his attitude point to a high-motor, team-first player. Weaknesses: lack of ideal size, durability questions from his 2023 injury, production dip against consistent FBS competition, occasional ball security lapses. We went over the injury history thing in 2023. 2024 looked like he was good. 2025 looked like he was good. So, minor historical concern. Primary comp. I haven't heard this name in a while. Boston Scott, Philadelphia Eagles. Both are compact, explosive scat backs who excel in space as receivers and dynamic returners capable of flipping field position. Secondary comp, Nyheim Hines. Similar size, elite speed, and return game impact. No red flags. That is pretty interesting as a potential return option. And as a side note, I know Sky Moore is on the team, and I know the plan is for him to be that dude, but you also have to remember teams hate paying premiums for specialists. And if you can grab a guy as a UDFA that can take return duties and you don't have to pay what is considered a premium for a guy just to be a returner, they're going to invest in that every day of the week. All right, that moves us on to Will Lee, cornerback out of Texas A&M. This is a bigger prospect. I think we've already talked about because he's already on the old board here. But we'll do it again because I don't remember. 6'2", 189, 4.52 40-yard dash. He is at 115 on the consensus board. So this is a little bit more of a serious look at a guy, this isn't like a guy we might take a swing on later or UDFA. I mean, if they're really interested, this is going to be a relatively high pick, third-ish, fourth-ish round, perhaps. I mean, it could be second. Who knows with the Packers and whatnot, but a little bit more serious. As far as, might as well look at special teams since I'm sitting here. Not a whole lot. Okay. He did do a lot of special teams, but nothing special and no returns or anything. All right, what do we got for Mr. Will Lee outside of the height and weight stuff? Physical long arm boundary corner, nicknamed the Blanket. Well, that profiles is kind of what we've been talking about as far as what makes sense for a Gannon corner. Again, the 4.52, if you're going based off of the article with Justice Mosqueda, I think the slowest was like 4.5. But still, again, I'm very anti drawing very hard defined lines. Plus, the Packers have their own speed stuff that they look at. They don't really care. So the Blanket nickname earned the hard way. His relentless coverage and ability to smother top receivers earned him the moniker from teammates and coaches. He consistently volunteered to shadow the opponent's alpha wide receiver and stayed glued through entire games, turning potential big plays into incompletions or PBUs. So just real quick, looking at it, he does have a good amount of PBUs. So 1 year at Kansas State, then 2 at Texas A&M. His pass breakups were 6, 8, and 8. His coverage grades went from 75 to 72 to 69, which, again, isn't great, but at the same time, as I've said, it does say a lot to come in 2023, although he didn't, he went the JUCO route or whatever. He is 23 years old, but still, his first time starting at a decent-sized school at the age of 20, he's getting 75 grades, 79 tackling, 73 run defense, 71 pass rush, 76 overall. It's pretty impressive. After solid but unspectacular tape, Lee exploded at the 26 NFL Combine with a 4.52 40, 1.56 split, 42-inch vert, tied for second among DBs, and an 11-foot broad jump, which was tied for second, posting a near-elite RAS score and explosiveness that validated his on-field burst. Leadership abilities in summer 2025, Lee hosted a free football camp in Kirkwood High for any kid who wanted to play regardless of experience, while also being described as a vocal leader and high character presence in the Texas A&M locker room. Strengths and weaknesses: elite length, explosive athleticism, ball skills and playmaking, high motor and competitiveness, patient feet match technique, solid tackling and run support. Weaknesses: zone coverage refinement is needed, hip fluidity and change of direction. Remember, that's somewhat of a minor thing. As long as he's got that sort of quick trigger, some straight line speed, and some decent stuff going on between the ears, you can deal with that. Weaknesses: top end speed versus true burners. That could be an issue. Occasionally penalty prone, run defense angles, and size limitations. Clean bill of health when it comes to injuries. Primary comp, this is where I maybe remember him, Benjamin St. Just. How about them apples? Final guy before we take a break here is Michael Heldman. 6'4", 268-pound edge rusher from Romeo, Michigan. Went to Romeo High School. Central Michigan Chippewas. He is at 273 on the consensus board, so again, you're looking 7th round UDFA range. Would definitely be more in the Van Ness mold than the Micah Parsons mold, obviously, at nearly 270. Spent 5 years at Central Michigan. His grades, he didn't really play a ton in 2021. He had a 59 grade. 2022 is the first time he gets starts. His grades went from 56 to 69 to 77 to 93. I know it's a small school, but 93 grade, 87 run defense, 74 tackling, 93 pass rush. He had 53 pressures and 12 sacks on 321 attempts. His worst grade was against Pittsburgh, 62.5 grade. His second worst was against Toledo, 71.3. His second worst game was a 71.3, where he had 2 pressures and a sack and a 73 run defense grade. Played against Northwestern in a bowl game, had an 83 grade, 70 run defense, 73 tackling, 70 pass rush. I should see if I can find that game. That would be an interesting one. But, able to hold up against a tough team. By the way, Michigan Played against Michigan, 73 grade, 73 run defense, 72 tackling grade, 2 pressures on 16 attempts. So he did not shy away. It wasn't like a 92 grade like he had against UMass, but he wasn't bad. Let's see, born January 2nd, 2003, grew up in a mobile home without his father, facing bullying and food insecurity, but football became his outlet for anger and discipline. It's interesting. He arrived at CMU as a raw 235-pound prospect and added 10 to 15 pounds of muscle annually while developing into one of the MAC's most productive pass rushers. He was the highest-graded pass rusher among 852 qualified edge rushers via PFF with his 93 overall grade. His 92.9 pass rush grade ranked third. 4-time academic All-MAC honoree with a 3.53 undergrad GPA and a 3.88 MBA. Heldman also earned NFF Hampshire Honor Society and CSC Academic All-District nods. Ignored by the Combine, Heldman posted elite testing numbers that produced a 9.88 RAS. Explosion at Central Michigan's March Pro Day instantly boosted his stock. Drew visits from the Packers and Chargers. He's one of only 8 Chippewas ever to earn 4 straight academic All-MAC honors. Nominated to the Campbell Trophy, Werfel Trophy, and AFCA Good Works team. Clean off-the-field profile, 3.88 GPA. He was a late add to the East-West Shrine Bowl and Hulu Bowl participant. Heldman flashed his hand usage and motor against better competition. Strengths, refined hand usage and pass rush repertoire, high motor and relentless chase, hip flexibility and bend, leverage and stack shed and run defense, consistent production and scheme versatility. Weaknesses, lacks explosive first step, limited strength versus power run schemes, group of 5 level of competition. No major injuries, missed 1 game in 23 with an undisclosed injury, exited the 2025 Game Above Sports Bowl early versus Northwestern after being attended to by trainers, but started 25 straight games, so yeah, nothing going on there. Primary comp, Jonathan Cooper, former Ohio State, current NFL edge. Both are technician first rushers who lack elite top-end burst, but win with relentless hand usage, inside counters, high motor, and effort based on production. Secondary comp, a slightly more athletic version of late-round edges like Derek Barnett or a poor man's Max Crosby. Same relentless pursuit and handwork, but with better testing numbers that give him a higher ceiling in sub-packages. No off-the-field flags. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, I think we got 4 more to rip through. We'll be right back. All right, next up, Ethan Onyanwa, offensive tackle, Ohio State. 3-star recruit also from Katy, Texas. In high school, he 3 years on the offensive line and defensive line, also lettered 3 years in baseball while staying active in engineering club. Signed with Rice in 2021, developed into a durable multi-year starter before entering the transfer portal in 24 and landing at Ohio State. Spent 4 years at Rice. Phil Steele, preseason second team All-AAC honors in 23. George R. Brown Offensive Award that same year. Transferred to Ohio State, expecting to start at left tackle, but lost the job in camp. Rotated to right tackle and guard. Finished 2025 as a backup who appeared in 14 games for just 173 offensive and special teams snaps. Massive long-arm tackle and guard prospect, showed flashes of NFL-caliber power and anchor, but ultimately proved scheme-dependent and technique limited at the highest level. 6'7", 34 1/8 inch arms, so just an absolute beast. 83 3/8 inch wingspan. Raw play strength and grip, pass pro experience and low sack rate, positional versatility, compete and finish mentality. Weaknesses, average athleticism, high pad level, technique and hand usage, recognition versus stunts. So the appeal is obvious here. The Packers want big monsters, and he's a big monster. It's pretty straightforward. Pro comp, Justin Sr., former NFL swing tackle and guard. Bullshit, a towering 6'7" frame, long arms, raw power, flash in the run game, but requires schematic help and technique work to survive on the edge. No red flags. Pronounced Ethan Onyanwa. Next up, we have Diarco Perkins McAllister of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Double check, make sure it looks like that is how you pronounce his name. Looks like about 6 foot, 200 pounds from Nashville, Tennessee. 4-star safety. Arrived at TCU as highly touted 2021 4-star recruit, number 20 safety nationally after racking up 62 tackles, bunch of stats, blah, blah, blah. Tested exceptionally well on the camp circuit with size, speed, and explosiveness that screamed NFL upside. Multiple transfers followed. Limited snaps at TCU, redshirt at New Mexico, a stop at Chattanooga, finally landing at Louisiana Monroe, January of 2025. His only really good year via PFF was his 2024 season at Chattanooga. Played 8 snaps in 2021 at TCU, then 36 in 2022 at TCU. 2023, New Mexico, he played 0 snaps. Then he goes to Chattanooga, 586 snaps, 73 grade, 81 run defense, 71 coverage. So that's the one time it's like, oh, that's pretty good. Then Louisiana Monroe, very small school and didn't do well. 63 grade, 65 coverage grade. I mean, there's obviously some redeeming qualities here that are liked, but I don't know. I'm guessing part of it is the fact that he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. I mean, there's a lot of raw talent here, and you got to kind of get your hands on him and see, is there something still in there? 2025, he started 10 of 11 games, 33 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks as a blitzer, 7 PBUs, blocked kick while earning Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week honors in Week 1 after an 8-tackle, 2-sack performance for St. Francis. Versatile Swiss Army knife. Coaches deployed him everywhere in the secondary over the last 2 seasons. Responded with splash plays as a blitzer and in coverage. Some strengths: explosive first step quickness, long arm coverage versatility, physical tackling and run support, special teams contributor, improved ball skills and playmaking. Weaknesses: tackle consistency and missed opportunities, scheme-dependent coverage ceiling, lack of ideal size and length for an outside corner, inconsistent early career production. Let's see, pro day results: 4.44 second 40-yard dash, 35.5-inch vert, 9.7 broad jump, 14 reps on the bench. He has 32-inch arms. It's not short arms. It's pretty average, I think. Fully healthy, although he hardly played. Pro comp: Jalen Mills, former Eagles and Patriots hybrid defensive back, both undersized for corner, but long arm, versatile athletes who thrived in the box or slot, contributed on special teams. Secondary comp: Adrian Phillips. No off-the-field issues. Next up, we have A.J. Halsey. Again, another guy that's a little bit higher up there. Definitely a prospect that if we were to draft would not be sort of a 7th-round UDFA type of guy. A.J. Halsey, safety out of LSU. I saw somebody recently, by the way, this would probably be a 2nd-round pick, but pretty unlikely. Somebody recently was looking at safeties for the Packers and kind of mentioned how, I forget exactly what it was, but nobody signed past like 2027 or something to that effect. I wouldn't be super worried about it outside of questioning when Xavier McKinney might be moving on. But the point remains, looking to kind of make sure we have plans at the position beyond 2026 is worthwhile as far as planning. Anywho, 6 foot 215 out of Houston, Texas. A lot of Texas boys here. 3-star recruit coming out of high school. Started his career at New Mexico. Moved to Houston for 2 seasons of Big 12 starting experience. Then exploded at LSU in 2025. Looking at PFF, New Mexico, 86 grade. So he's 22 now. So 22, 21, 20, 19 years old, 18, 19 at New Mexico with an 86 grade, 78 run defense, 85 tackling, 73 pass rush, and 86 coverage. That's freaking remarkable. Takes a little bit of a step back when he goes to Houston, but still a 70 grade, 86 run defense, 83 tackling. 2nd year at Houston, right back to being elite, 81 grade, 86 coverage, 73 run defense. Then he goes to LSU. Doesn't take a step back, takes a step forward. By the way, started all 4 years. 87 grade, 76 run defense, 67 tackling, 89 coverage grade. He had 3 pressures on just 6 pass rush attempts, 66 tackles, 20 stops, 1 forced fumble. He was targeted 37 times, 23 were caught for 265 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. He has 10 interceptions in his 4 years, 9 touchdowns, 10 picks, 15 pass breakups. That's pretty fantastic. Box enforcer who punches above his weight, 215 to 222, linebacker-like frame, consistently led or finished near the top in tackles while playing downhill. 10 career interceptions, 19 pass breakups didn't happen by accident. Halsey's route recognition and timing at the catch point turned him into a turnover machine in every conference he played. Strengths, elite instincts and route recognition, violent run supporter and physicality, ball skills at the catch point, versatile alignment and scheme fit, competitive toughness and leadership. Weaknesses, hip stiffness and man coverage, average recovery speed and burst, tackling technique and inconsistencies, length limitations. He ran a 4.52 40-yard dash, which is really not terrible. He has about 31-inch arms, didn't do a lot of the other stuff, the agility or explosiveness stuff. Clean bill of health as far as injuries are concerned. Comps Deshaun Elliott, Baltimore Ravens and Detroit Lions, same compact physical build, elite instincts in zone, love for contact near the line, both thrive as box enforcers who create turnovers. Secondary comp Eddie Jackson of the Chicago Bears, ball production machine with similar route anticipation, big playability, though Halsey is slightly more physical in the run game. No off-the-field issues. And then finally, Chris Brazzell, the second wide receiver out of Tennessee. Let's see, where is Brazzell? Yeah, he's right there at 54, so he's just 3 spots before Halsey. This would be another potential second-round pick. Again, unlikely, but certainly not impossible. 3-star recruit. Started off at Tulane, where he got freshman All-American and All-AAC third-team honors in 2023. So that would have been his second year at Tulane, 76 grade, 77 receiving. So solid year with 711 yards, 5 touchdowns. After transferring to Tennessee, he posted a modest 333-yard, 2-touchdown stat line in 2024. Before exploding in 2025, he had 1,006 yards, 16.5 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns, 81 receiving grade. That was his second year at Tennessee. He led the SEC in receiving yards per game at about 85 and touchdowns while earning first-team All-SEC, AP third-team All-American, and Biletnikoff Earl Campbell semifinalist nods. 6'4", 198-pound outside receiver, started 20 of 25 games with the Vols, finishing with career totals of 136 catches, blah, 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 blah. Towering vertical threat, obviously. Big, massive monster. And again, that is kind of what I assume the Packers would be looking for. That's the one thing that's kind of missing. He is the son of former Jets 6th-round pick and CFL veteran Chris Brazzell. The younger Brazzell II has the same long striding build and ball skills that kept Dad in Pro Bowls for decades. Named East-West Shrine Bowl Offensive Player of the Week after dominating versus Georgia early in 2025. He used that momentum to post 4 100-yard games and cement his All-SEC status. He ran an official 4.37 at the 40 at 6'4", 198, which turned heads and pushed scouts from solid day 2 to legitimate late first-round discussions. Strengths, elite size and speed, nuanced route running, strong hands, yak potential on deep crossers, willing and improving blocker. That makes way more sense. Weaknesses, limited play strength, inconsistent yak, occasional effort and consistency lapses, release refinement needed. He has nearly 33-inch arms. Fully healthy and durable, primary comp Drake London, towering frame, elite ball skills, contested catch dominance, mirror London's game, both win with length and body control despite average short area quickness. Secondary comp Martavis Bryant, former Steelers guy. No real red flags, single 2025 traffic citation. Speeding with suspended license from prior insurance issue is the only off-the-field note. Otherwise, clean character, strong family background, academic graduation, December 2025. Round out his pristine off-the-field profile with 0 character or maturity concerns. All right, I need a brain break. I'm fading here. I'm going to leave it at that. That rounds out the remaining top 30 prospects. There are, I believe, 7 more to come, so we will keep track of that. Otherwise, I am out of here. Please remember to consider clicking the link in the description. I apologize, by the way. I went and started looking through some stuff. Turns out you could have subscribed for free, which isn't supposed to be a thing, but it was. I was all excited. I was like, I just need one subscriber today. And then I saw we got it. Colin and I are high-fiving, and then looked at it, and I was like, oh, we have free subscribers. That's not supposed to be a thing. So apologies to the free subscribers. That should not be a thing anymore. But anyways, again, anybody that's willing or able to subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. I will talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.